Good afternoon, Suidlanders. How are you? Excuse me. This is an article from about 6 months ago. 7. And at the time, I wasn't really making many videos, and I came across the article and I kept it on my phone, and I've just been working through stuff that I'm clearing out. And it occurred to me that this story is a valuable lesson to those people who believe that perhaps Suidlanders, conservatives, many white people are becoming more and more wrong to be as resentful as we are about the African National Congress and the crisis at Eskom and many other related events and crises and catastrophes and general muck-ups. Hopefully, there will be just one person who listens to this and open-mindedly allows it to, that they assimilate it, that it is inculcated in them somehow with a little bit of patience and open-mindedness, to apprehend, that is to say, to grasp the severity of the illness inside of the African National Congress. This is a very short, brief, moral story, if you like. SAA pilot who nearly stalled plane over the East Rand gets a promotion. Experts said that the plane could have crashed had it not been for intervention from the autopilot. Trust me, this story hasn't even nearly gotten to the best part yet. South African Airways has confirmed that one of the pilots who operated the nearly ill-fated vaccine flight to Brussels last year, so it's an international flight, has been put in charge of training at the airline. So there were 2 pilots aboard this plane, presumably. It's an international flight, so international level pilots. Somehow between both of them, they managed to mess it up, and it's only the autopilot that saved them, and one of them, who was saved by the autopilot, has been put in charge of training at South African Airways. Captain Vusi Khumalo assumed the role of the South African Training Organization. It's slightly clumsy English. Captain Vusi Khumalo assumed the role at the South African Airways Training Organization on the 1st of April. In February last year, that is to say February 2021, an SAA vaccine collection flight to Brussels nearly stalled over the East Rand after takeoff. The onboard event is called an alpha floor incident. Saved by the autopilot, experts said that the plane could have crashed had it not been for intervention from the autopilot. The English, the punctuation, the grammar is all very poor. I'm not going to labor this point too much. Let's keep this video short and sweet. Let it suffice to say that if you have not as yet begun to see the irremediable, that can't be remedied, inherent problem in South Africa, in South African government, in the governing party of South Africa, in this moral, in this story, there is something wrong with you. if you still believe that maybe, just maybe, everything's going to be okay, there is something wrong with you. Bearing in mind that the African National Congress has made it clear, repeatedly, in writing, that deployment of cadres is a core policy, that the deployment of African National cadres, notwithstanding that it's a misnomer, cadre means something else. It means a group of people trained for a specific task, whereas they use it to refer to individuals just being deployed because they are loyal. When the ruling party, like a communist party, dominates everything, dominates the government, dominates the state down to the lowest levels, dominates the organs of state, dominates the non-governmental organizations that are somehow attached to the state, dominates the state-owned enterprises, when one of its people, one of its deployed people, almost crashes a 500 million rand or whatever plane, the next thing you do is you make him the boss of training people. That's how messed up they are. And that is why Mr. Miller founded Sakelanders, and that is why he appeals from his heart, and I echo his appeals, that ordinary people, you don't have to be a right-wing, racist, maniac, neo-Nazi. Few of us are. We're ordinary people. If you as an ordinary person, we appeal to you. Consider joining Sakelanders, simply because our entire society is going to be wrecked, is being wrecked, has been already mostly wrecked by the African National Congress and by this way of thinking. And it's only going to get worse, as you can see manifesting and being realized in Eskom at the moment, never mind everywhere else too. And it is going to end in catastrophe, and that at that time you want to be connected to, you want to be allied to, you want to be part of, you want to be a member of, you shall wish that you were a part of an organization like Sakelanders that is dedicated to ensuring that when this thing goes south for the winter, when it just disappears, all of the goodness, the civilization, the norms disappear in a cloud of chaos and combat, because that will happen. A catastrophe, a terminal catastrophe in this country must necessarily rupture along class and race lines. That is the nature of the South Africa in which we live, whether you like it or not. And Julius Malema is the articulation of that. He understands that. He understands that when the rubber hits the road in this country, it's going one way. Doesn't mean you have to hate your gardener, detest your colleague at work, despise the woman who works in your house. Rubbish, man! Not so long ago, those of you who've watched videos of mine in the past will know that I refer to my maids. Not because I'm a millionaire. I have one woman every 2 weeks for one day. But it began with two twin sisters. And the one would come and help the other one for a couple of hours in the afternoon for her to finish more quickly, and then they would go off together, and I'd pay her something too. Then a friend of theirs. Then one of the two twins died, and the other twin felt she couldn't commit fully to me, so she worked on odd occasions for me. But yet another friend, we're now talking about a fourth person, would substitute for her. So, don't get any funny ideas. But one of my maids said to me the other day, the women, the maids, at the bus stop were gossiping about me. And allegedly they all agreed that I am the nicest boss in Van der Kloof. The nicest, she said it twice. Once the nicest of all the white men and the nicest of the bosses, presumably of the maids, the employers, the domestic employers. It doesn't make me a saint, but maybe, just maybe, it means that I don't wake up in the morning hating the people around me. Maybe, just maybe, what this is about is a pragmatic understanding that our state is failing and that there is good evidence, not least in the form of Julius Malema, that once it fails properly, it shall rupture and fracture along race lines. And stories such as this are incontrovertible. They are incontrovertible evidence. How do you controvert this evidence? How do you make controversy of it? How do you refute it? How do you dispute it? When this is merely one anecdote of thousands that you know. The writing is on the wall. It is time now for you to pin your colors to the mast, even if you are discreet about it. Pin your colors to the mast so that at least your fellows know that you have done so, even if you've not published it for the world to see. Even if you work at Nedbank or MTN or some big multinational corporation headquartered in the waterfront of Cape Town. Even if it's difficult for you, now is the time to start making very, very, very serious choices. And if you watch more of these videos, you will rapidly apprehend, as if you haven't come to the appreciation already, the full appreciation that things in this country are not going to get better. Therefore, we must prepare for them to become worse, perhaps worst. Enough said. Thank you very much for watching this video. And to all of you Saitlanders out there, goodbye. God bless you, and may He keep you for the dim, dim times that lie ahead of us. Cheerio. Bye-bye.